Wall Street Journal published a piece last week that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. The headline, Americans are leaving the U.S. in record numbers. And I want to talk about it because this is literally my life they're writing about. I've been living outside of the U.S. since before the pandemic. I'm sitting here right now in Medellín, Colombia. And Colombia, broadly speaking, is one of the places that made the article, and not in a flattering way. But I'll get to that. First, let me tell you what the internet did with the article, because it's instructive. The comments section went absolutely nuclear. You had one camp saying America's collapsing, and leaving is the only rational response. You had another camp saying this whole conversation is just liberal propaganda, and millions of people still risk their lives to get to the United States. You had people accusing nomads of being colonizers. You had retirees quietly saying they moved to Portugal and it was the best decision they'd ever made. Everyone's yelling and no one's really talking about the same thing. I actually spent a lot of time going through the comments. I screenshotted them and fed them all into AI to find out the patterns. What came back was clarifying. There are basically 6 distinct arguments happening all under the same headline. 6 different worldviews all using the same news story as their launchpad. And almost none of them are actually about the practical reality of moving abroad. Here's what the Wall Street Journal piece gets right. Last year, the U.S. experienced something that basically hasn't happened since the Great Depression. More people moved out than moved in. Now the Trump administration is framing that as a win, as evidence the deportation policy is working. But buried inside that number is a different story. American citizens are leaving in record numbers, voluntarily, by choice. Residence permits, foreign home purchases, student enrollments abroad. The data across 50 countries points all in the same direction. This is real. This is happening. Now, here's where I have to be honest with you about something. The article specifically mentions Colombia. It mentions Bali, Thailand. It talks about locals in those places mounting protests against the wave of American remote workers. People paying rent in dollars in economies that don't run on dollars and the gentrification pressure it creates. I read that paragraph and I had to think about it for a while. It's because I've told myself a story about what my life here means. That I'm not one of the oblivious ones. That I'm learning the language. I'm publicly learning Spanish right now, which is humbling in ways I didn't fully anticipate. That I'm trying to be part of the place instead of just consuming it. But the honest answer is I'm also from the US, paying rent in dollars in a city where that matters. And the fact that I'm doing it thoughtfully doesn't make the economic pressure that I represent disappear. The tension is real. I think anyone who is living this lifestyle and is not sitting with that question isn't paying close enough attention. So let me tell you what I actually think is happening underneath all the noise. Moving abroad is not what the internet thinks it is. The fantasy version, sell your stuff, buy a ticket, new life. That's not a plan. That's a daydream. The reality is that moving to another country is a bureaucratic project. Visas, residency rules, tax obligations. And this one surprises people. The United States is one of only 2 countries in the world that taxes citizens on income earned abroad, regardless of where they live. So you don't just leave your taxes behind when you leave, they follow you. Uncle Sam's still knocking down the door. Probably will be interplanetary also one day. Show up at your Mars pied-à-terre. Health insurance, language, the particular experience of being a fully competent adult in one system and a complete beginner in another. That's a real thing. It's humbling. It takes longer than people actually expect to really feel like you live somewhere rather than just staying somewhere. The people who actually do this successfully, and there's millions of them, tend to fall into a few groups. Retirees whose savings go much further abroad. They're not looking to cause trouble. Remote workers who realize the office requirement was always more habit than necessity. Entrepreneurs and freelancers whose income was already location independent before their address was. What unites them is not politics, it's not protest, Most of them still hold U.S. passports, pay U.S. taxes, maintain U.S. bank accounts. They haven't abandoned America. They just stopped letting it be their only option. And this is the thing the comment section never gets to. There's a certain type of people emerging, and I think it's larger than the data currently captures, who think about geography in a way that a previous generation thought about careers, not as a fixed identity, as a variable, something that can be optimized, something that can change. Winters in Latin America, summers in Europe, income global, schedule flexible. The Wall Street Journal calls this a record exodus. The comment section calls it escape or betrayal or privilege, depending on who's writing. I think it's something quieter than those sort of broad framings. It's people who are asking a question that most of us were never encouraged to ask. Does my life have to be lived in the place I started it? For most of the 20th century, that answer was assumed. You planted yourself somewhere, you built around that geography was fate. That assumption is dissolving. Now, and I want to be clear about this, mobility is not evenly distributed. It's a function of your income, passport, language, and a dozen other variables. The freedom to choose your geography is real, but it's not available to everyone. That matters, and it's worth saying out loud. But for people who do have access to it, the question has genuinely opened up in a way it wasn't a generation ago. And I think the most interesting people, the ones you probably don't see in the comments section, are the ones who are just answering it for themselves. They're not arguing about whether the USA is worth leaving or not. They're just quietly building lives that don't fit the old geography. That's what 7 years of me being here in Colombia feels like from the inside. It's not clean. It's not innocent. There are real costs and real contradictions, and I carry some of them with me. But it is, in every sense I know how to mean, a designed life. And that's why I think this conversation, the real one, not the comment war, is worth having. If this landed for you, like and subscribe. As they say, I write a weekly newsletter called A Texas Nomad. Link in the description. We go deeper on all this every week. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you next week.